The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, Era 1, and it is one of the most overhyped and overrated books probably ever. Definitely in the booktube community, the booktube fantasy community. I did a video about The Shadow of the Gods and how that is the ultimate overhyped booktube fantasy book. But The Final Empire, unlike The Shadow of the Gods, is actually a good book. Let me tell you the ratings I have for The Final Empire. Plot 90, characters 92, emotional impact 75, pacing 85, writing style 80, theme 70, uniqueness 95, book cover 40, overall score 81.65. So it's in the 4-star club. 81.65 is a good score, but the way people talk about The Final Empire, I thought when I picked it up that it was at least going to be 87 minimum, and I was definitely banking on it being in the 90s. I've watched a whole bunch of booktubers gush over this book. It's been on my TBR for a while now, and it was I think his name's Mike's Book Review. He's a booktuber that mainly does fantasy and horror reviews. It's a very good channel. He has a series of why you should read X series, and he did one for the Mistborn trilogy and Red Rising. And after I watched both, I actually picked up and bought both of those books. Like I said, it was good, but this isn't going to be on my all-time favorite lists of any kind, whether just general books or just fantasy in general. It's not there. But I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I'm finally getting around to reading Brandon Sanderson. I have been excited to read his books. I have most of his books on my TBR, so I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, what is The Final Empire about? It's a pretty basic premise, a pretty standard one. We're in this very unique world. The world building is excellent, and so is the magic system. We're in this unique world where mist seems to just continuously fall all over the place. The world is divided into sort of two class systems. You got the upper class, and then you got the slaves, and the slaves, and you got the noblemen and the upper class who control them. I say control in quotation marks. We also, above the nobility, you have the Lord Ruler, and that's the crazy entity, biggest oppressor. Like the nobility can be kind of seen as the middle class, in fact, kind of not upper class but not lower class. It's nicely done. And then so you got the Lord Ruler, and he's all powerful, etc., the standard stuff. Then kind of below him doing his deeds, you have the Inquisitors, who are actually quite scary. I found the Inquisitors scarier than the Lord Ruler himself. Then you got the Obligators, I believe. These two sort of creatures, for lack of a better term, have their various roles. But I actually found them, it's kind of like when the henchmen are more intimidating than the final boss, in a way. But anyway, you got Scar, some in the city, some in the countryside, some working on the land of the nobility. And the nobility have their way with them, have their way with the Scar women, which they have to kill afterwards, by the way. All of that stuff, right? Pretty standard stuff. That's sort of the basic setting. The magic system in this book is phenomenal. It is a hard magic system. It is very, very strict on the rules. We learn more as the book goes on about the different metals and the different powers they give to people who are able to use their powers to enhance themselves, whether it be strength, sight, etc., right? And so Mistborn are those who are able to use all the metals, because there are some that can only use one. Vin, the character, she reminded me of Inej from the Six of Crows duology. If you liked Inej, you would like Vin. I got very attached to Vin. I am very attached to Vin. And the mentor-mentee pairing she had with Kel, I'm probably saying his name wrong. It's like a father-daughter relationship, or like a little sister, big brother kind of relationship. One thing I do appreciate Sanderson for doing is really going in on the metals and how they work, and he reinforces the rules naturally within the story. So when people are using it, when people are using the metals on a job for something, Sanderson is able to easily weave in the rules of that metal with the specific action that's going on. One thing I also love is that Sanderson will also, through the characters, let the reader know, oh, I am running low on this metal, so I'm switching to this other metal. And there are actually multiple magic systems within this book. So it's not just primarily about the Mistborns and their magic system. There are a few others. The characters are really good. I like the characters. I like their interactions. They do interact really well, and the team are great. Sazed, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but he's definitely top 3. It's definitely Kel, Vin, and Sazed in terms of the best characters in this book. Definitely the ones that get the most attention also. I loved hearing, through the characters about the lore and the fear that the Lord Ruler has caused and how it's spread. Sazed talks about, I don't know, let me not spoil it. But it's good. We get to hear more about how the Lord Ruler has really conquered the world and how he has exterminated certain people and how he looks to oppress different kinds of people in this world. So there's a lot more to this book. So I did enjoy this book, and the pacing is good. I got through it at a very brisk pace. The writing style, very accessible, easy to follow, nothing too complex at all. But I was just expecting more. This is Sanderson. This is a very beloved book and a very beloved series, and I was expecting just a bit more. The uniqueness is just fantastic because, and I gave it a high rating because the magic system is just awesome. It's probably the strongest part of this book by far. This book is also described as a good beginning to adult fantasy, and many YouTubers do describe it as that, many booktubers, but I actually don't think it is. I actually think it's firmly YA, definitely on the older side of YA, as opposed to, series like The Maze Runner or Young James Bond. That's definitely on the younger side of YA. This is definitely on the adult spectrum of YA as opposed to the young part. But I definitely don't consider it adult fantasy. It was just too, what it is now that I think about it, and it's a part I really don't like about the book. The romance in it. There's 2 big romances really. One is a past one that is dead that we learn about, and to be honest, we don't learn a lot. We just learn about the end and the fallout really. But I like that because it was tied to grief. But the current present one was just horrible. It was not done well at all. The execution of it was just very off. If you've read Scythe by Neil Schusterman, epic YA fantasy, absolutely brilliant series. The romance in that first book was just horrible as well. By the second and third book, the characters are kind of proved themselves that, they'll ride out for each other. So it's like, okay, it's believable. But the initial get together was just, well, crap, really. And it's the same here. But that's just a minor thing. It doesn't kill the book. The interactions between the 2 quote unquote lovebirds are legit, and it serves a bigger purpose too. If you want to get into Sanderson, I'd lower your expectations. I think that's the biggest thing, and is what I'll be doing from now on. This is a good book. I expected more, but I've got more Sanderson to read, so hopefully it gets better from here. Check out my playlist for other book reviews. I think you'll like them a lot. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below.